Well, hello guys, this is your girl Ziva Fashionista bringing you a review of the Salt and Pepper biopic which aired on Lifetime. I am giving you my best Salt and Pepper in the house, what I could pull together from what I had in the house without going shopping. So this is my homage to Salt and Pepper, whom I love. I grew up hearing the ladies and I just love them. Everything they stood for, I got it. And I was just all about the women empowerment. I was all about just being a fly girl. Like, what Salt and Pepper meant to me was they were fly. I actually thought that they were from Harlem, and they're not, but they very much had that Harlem girl aesthetic, being a girl from Harlem. Like, I just loved it. I just loved the way they dressed. I loved the way their hair was always changing, and we're gonna get into the hair. We gotta get into there. But I love the way that their hair was always changing. So that just kind of taught me what I felt a black woman was. You're constantly changing your hair. You're constantly trying new things. You're constantly being edgy, which I think I do. And I have to say that that's because of seeing women like Salt and Pepper. So let's get into this movie. This movie, right? This is going to be a review. I'm going to tell you what I liked, what I think they did well versus what I didn't like so much. This is not a recap because, guys, I couldn't stand here and tell you everything happened, blah, 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 and then this happened and this happened. We would be here all day because it was a really long movie. It was 3 hours. I didn't go into this knowing that it was going to be a 3-hour movie. It actually moved pretty well. I wasn't bored. I think they did a good job. I did see on Twitter where there was some complaints, but I feel like this happens almost every biopic. Almost every time it's like, what about this? What about this? They left this out. They left that out. Or they didn't touch on this. They didn't touch on this. You really can't go blow for blow like what actually happened because it's just the time won't allow. What I will say, I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit because another complaint that I saw was that Spinderella wasn't involved. Should Spinderella have been involved? They absolutely should have involved her. But I can understand why. They're not in a good place right now, which, we got to see that throughout the film where Salt and Pepper weren't in a good place. Now, I'm going to refer to them as Salt and Pepper versus Cheryl and Sandy, which I do know their names. I did know their names before, but I always thought Salt was Sandy and that Pepper was Cheryl, and it's actually the other way around. So I learned something new tonight. I did know the names, but I had it mixed up. So just to keep it in the perspective so that I'm saying the right person, because I know I will mess it up, I'm going to refer to them as their rap monikers just to keep things in perspective. But I have to say I do understand why I don't want to say I understand why they left her out. I think her story is important, but I can see it because if with just the two ladies' stories or the things that they wanted to add into the movie, we had 3 hours. Now we're going over 3 lady stories, 3 bandmates, because I do feel like Spinderella wasn't a part of the group, and she was an important part of the group just as much as JMSJ was an important part of Run DMC. I think Spinderella is an important part of Salt and Pepper and Spinderella, and she was, you said that at certain times when you sort of Salt and Pepper and Spinderella, you didn't leave her out. So why leave her out of the movie? But had they included her, I think we would have had to have multiple nights. We would have had to come back. We would have had to have an hour and a half this night and maybe told it from Sandy's perspective, and then an hour and a half this night and told it from Cheryl's perspective, and then an hour and a half the other night to tell it from, and I knew Spinderella's name, but I'm drawing a blank now, so feel free to leave it down below. I will have to say that I am a later Salt and Pepper fan, so I came in around the shoot and the What a Man. That's when I was, even though, of course, who hasn't heard Push It? I heard Push It, but I never heard of Expression. I never heard that, so that's something that I'm gonna have to go back and see, and just explore some of their earlier music. I never heard the Showstopper, never heard of that. So yeah, I want to know more, so I will be going back and doing some research on the things that I missed because I came in late. I wasn't around. I was a little tiger, you know. Salt N Pepa are the pioneers of female rap. They weren't the first rap female group, and they weren't the first rap females. They came along and they kind of took off, and they were big. They were bigger, dare I say, than Queen Latifah in the rap game at one point. They were. I would have loved to have seen more of that, like how they came up in the rap game. How was it getting interviews, getting press, you know, some more of the backlash. We did get to see where they were performing for like Essence, and the founder, the editor-in-chief, Susan, she was not pleased. I think they got her right with the braids, because she always rocked braids famously, and just not approving of all the gyrating and things like that. I thought that was a really good scene. If we rewind, we start off at how they met each other. They met each other at Queensborough College. Again, I just did not know that they were not from Harlem. That blew my mind. They were in school. They met in a caf, you know, as Pepa was her loud and in your face self. So that's her from the beginning. She's loud, she's in your face. And Salt gives you the more reserved, just about her business, and she's eloquent and, you know, just a class act. Whereas Pepa is the roundaway girl. She's the, hey, I'm here, everybody pay attention, they're about to play some spades, you see me, like, and I love it. I think as far as the casting, let's talk about casting. I don't know, do they do this on purpose so we could drag it? Do they do this on purpose so that we can have something to say? I do feel like everyone did a good job, but I do not feel like anyone looked like anyone they were supposed to be. The ladies, they did a really good job, but I didn't feel, if I saw them, a picture of them, and you were like, who is this? I would be like, hairstyles and all, I would have drew a blank. The Hurby was good. He was good. The casting was okay. It was believable. But I just spent the whole movie calling him Tall Kevin Hart. He looked like Kevin Hart. He sounded like Kevin Hart, just a taller version. And I'm just like, is that his brother? He don't want us to know, because, you know, we're not trying to, like, you know, sometimes when their sibling or a family member comes up, we side-eye them just on the strength of they, you know, they're whoever, and we don't want to give them a chance. I'm like, is he just trying to pretend like he's not this guy's brother or his kin? Because that's tall Kevin Hart. Tretch was the first dark skin man. I will admit to you, I liked Kid growing up. I liked the light-skinned guy in Criss Cross. Growing up, I like light-skinned Chris. That was just a thing. Light-skinned dudes was big in the 80s and even in the 90s, you know? That's just what it was. And Tretch was the first dark-skinned guy that I was attracted to. I saw Tretch and I was like, oh my gosh, it was just something about him just attractive. That was not Tretch. That only reason why I knew that who that was supposed to be was because he had the lock on around his chest. That was not Tretch. That was terrible casting. He looked nothing like him. I felt like almost everybody was a little too light for me. Pepa was a little too light for my liking. Cinderella was a little too light. I just felt like it was a little too light bright. It was a little too color washed. I'm gonna need a little bit more melanin, but that's just me. That's me nitpicking. The hair was tragic. with my wig on a screw. It's giving homage. I'm giving homage. The wigs were tragic, guys. I have to say, my man was dragging the high top. And at a certain point, Hurby did get dressed. He was like, he should have had dressed a little earlier in the movie to be accurate with the timeline. But yeah, the hair, it wasn't as accurate. I would have needed a little more something. I just think the hair was a little more bumped. It wasn't that wet and wavy. No, that's not how they was wearing their hair. I like that we got to hear the story of how the asymmetrical, that was a big thing. And to come to find out that it was an accident, y'all gotta let me know, y'all that's a little bit older than I am, were people wearing their hair like that back in the day for real, or did this happened after Salt and Peppa did. After they were shaving inside their hair, after they were, you know, getting the press and the bump and the water. Yeah, the hair could have been better. The hair could have been a little more accurate. Yeah, those wigs was not giving me what I needed. I just felt like, I saw someone say on Twitter, did Tyler Perry do the hair? I did like seeing Mario Van Peebles. I like to see the Peebles. It was a couple of people from the Peebles family in the movie. Like seeing, I hear Mario was the director. Love seeing that. Yeah. Well, I like seeing their talk about their children and their pregnancies, because I did not know that Peppa had another child outside of Egypt. You see Egypt, you see it on the show. One thing that they didn't touch on was the reality show. That didn't make it into the movie. Could be because maybe it happened after 2005, because that's kind of when the movie stopped. 2005, was it 2016? Whenever they got honored, it kind of like stops, and then, you know, VH1 honors them. We see that scene in the beginning, and then that's how they end it. I did like the ending where we had a medley, even though some of these songs we had heard earlier in the movie, but we got a medley of the songs and performance of the songs at the end. I love seeing the skyline. I thought the movie was beautiful. It was shot well. We gotta understand this is 30 years later, almost 30 years later, and Manhattan doesn't look like it did in 1985 when the movie starts, 86 when it starts. Doesn't look like skyline is completely different. I think that they did a very good job. A lot of it was very artistic with the transitions of the scene. One point when Peppa is bungee jumping, and then it just goes into her being in the bed, and the lights and the lighting. I thought that was great. The fireworks and the scene where Salt is walking with Gavin, who becomes her husband. I thought that was beautiful. Like, it was shot, it was done very, very well. Yeah, I think that it was a great movie. Did Salt and Peppa have you dancing in the living room? Were you boogieing in the living room, or did it not give you exactly what you need? Were you feeling it, or were you not? Let me know your thoughts down below, because again, it was a very long movie, so I could go on and on, but why? Why do that? Let me know what you thought down below. I loved it. I say if you haven't watched it and you want to know if you should, go ahead and watch it. It was really good. And even the thing that came on after with Lonnie, I did learn some more stuff, and I see where there's still maybe some tension and still some growing to do, even though these ladies are in their 50s probably at this point. It's tough being in groups. We learned that it's tough being in groups. So I just love to see our icons get their flowers while they're still around, to get them while they're still around to tell their stories. I'm just glad. I feel like there's way more artists we need to see in here. And guys, I'm excited about next week. So we will be back next week to do Wendy Williams, because I'm excited about that. I'm excited about Mahalia. I'm excited about the Bobby, Christina, Whitney. I'm excited to see it all. Kudos, Lifetime. You will have us all tuned in. And yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so very much for watching this review. And if I don't catch you in the next one, you will catch me. See you next week, hopefully. Later. Shoot that, shoot that, shoot that, shoot that, shoot that, shoot that.